You're listening to Opinions in Beer.
Mr. James Pratt.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Now, this is Opinions and Beer. Ironically enough, most of our guests do not drink. But are you a craft beer? Do you fancy a craft beer?
You know, I wouldn't say I'm at the like the top end of the scale. I think I'm probably like medium. I don't mind a beer, but you know, I'm probably not like the quintessential Australian beer drinker. You know, that's got like a real you know, like a solid background. Oh, he has solid statistics to back him up when he says he's a beer drinker.
But that's cool. You know, like I said, like we've had people that are just they're non-alcoholics in general, or they're recovering alcoholics, and they're against beer altogether. We just have we kind of have a slew of guests, and it's just sort of fun. It's just sort of fun to talk with them. You know, it's not just about beer; it's about opinions as well.
No. That's I wanted to lay that out there because true story. When I was like 19 years old, see, in Australia, the drinking age is 18, not 21. So you know, you kind of get on board drinking a little bit younger. But a friend of mine said this market research company, and they were paying like $100 to pretty much you go into like a focus group and you talk about beer. And the catch was is they only wanted people that were like strong beer drinkers for this market research. And of course, I'm like 19, not a strong beer drinker. I'm more, you know, bourbon and Coke and kind of like a more spirits guy. But he said, don't worry about it. You know, they won't notice. So we'll just pretend like we're really strong beer drinkers. And then I just remember being really out of my depth because it was a group market research. So they were saying things like, you know, to the group, like, oh, how much would this case of beer cost? And they're like, oh, that's a so-and-so Albatross type beer, and that would be $24.95. And what about you, sir? And I was out of my depth. I was like, oh, I'd say that would be $12.95. Like, it was very obvious I was not a beer drinker. And by the end, they stopped asking me and my friend questions. Like, they'd go around the group, but then they kind of put like a big hole in, like, we're going to go back over this side of the room and ask this gentleman. Not when it was kind of up to our turn. They took like a huge 180 and were like, yeah, these guys they're not going to help us with our research. So just putting it out there, when you ask me, am I a beer drinker? Medium, not quite full on.
Yeah, our budget's getting getting thin because all the beers we're buying is $10 a bottle or $20 a bottle. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah, $10 for a bottle. It's like smaller bottles too, like because some they'll put in these giant nice bottles. It's like, okay, that's worth $10. But then you get like you get a $10 bottle that's like it's an import from the Netherlands, and it was aged in the cask of dying whale carcass or something. It's like, Jesus.
So what are you drinking? Let me ask you this. What are you drinking at the moment, beer wise?
Oh, beer wise, I sadly I'm not allowed to say, but I'm not drinking beer right now. I kind of came over here to my co-host's place. We're like, hey, we really need to do this interview. I'm not going to keep them waiting, and I really would like to get them on the show. And so we will be drinking later, though. Usually we do our interviews, and then we will cut in the beer review into the episode, either like usually after the interview concludes. We'll have a beer review attached to it, and we do have it's like a Netherlands import aged in whiskey barrels. What's it called? It's like Black Cat or something that we're going to be tying together with this episode with you.
Yeah, no, look, I think that sounds all very professional to me. If I'm putting that diplomatically, it sounds fantastic, but that's, professionally done. Wait till after the show and kind of just, enjoy it.
Yeah. And you're actually you're our second Australian to be on the show. Our first one was Jason Ellis. I don't know if you know who Jason Ellis is from the Jason
You know what? I've heard the name, but I might be thinking of someone completely different. I'm guessing the film industry.
Well, no, he made it. He made it from skateboarding. He's actually he was a professional skateboarder from Australia, and
okay.
But now he's like a big radio host, and he does like a radio show, and he does fighting, and he does all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I have heard the name, but yeah, if he's Australian, good guy. I'm sure he's a good guy. If he's Australian, right?
He was okay. He was cool. We it was an interesting interview. We actually, in fact, after interviewing him, it went so bad that it went so bad. I immediately interviewed two people, one of them being Jessica Ross and the other one being London Seabreeze, and that's how you're on the show. So
no. Well, I appreciate being here. From my quick thing, just being Australian, I do find that probably one of the best benefits of being Australian, especially in the U.S., is there's a lot of gaps between Australia and back in Crocodile Dundee, meaning a lot of people still think that, and this is not just in the States, this is over in Europe as well. They think things like, like I ride a kangaroo to school, or
you don't,
no, I do. Absolutely. Yeah. We don't have Uber. We have like Kangaroo Pool, where we kind of just ride on the kangaroos.
Yeah. I've always thought that Australians just ride kangaroos and lick frogs.
Yeah. And, carry knives and wrestle crocodiles, that type of thing. Yeah. I was going to say, it's come well in handy when you come across somebody. I had this friend of mine, and he used to travel through Europe a lot. And he used to tell me, like, people would come up to him and say things like, oh, like, is it true that, you have to ride like a kangaroo to the airport? Like, he'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No. And in return, you feed the kangaroo when he drops you off. That's why everyone around the world still thinks like Australia is just technically, you ride a kangaroo or Crocodile Dundee, because Australians still keep up the image that that's what we do. Like, forget about the 70-story skyscrapers and all the technology. It's just, we like to keep that image going, and I feel like it's for our benefit.
Right. We kind of have a similar feeling sometimes. We're down in Texas, and everyone thinks we wear cowboy hats and ride horses.
But I mean, from my point of view, Texas is cool. So I like that. I like that style that you're describing.
The very Western. Yeah, we're still having Western shootouts down here. So
yeah, Texas, big, the lawless West, right?
Yes,
big trucks,
exactly.
Big cowboy hats.
Even though we're the South,
yeah,
we're still called the West.
Yeah.
The wild.
No, there's similarities there between Australia and Texas. Then that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have extreme weather conditions where, like, in the morning you're wearing a coat but during the day you're in swim trunks?
We get that kind of like tropical vibe, when you're down there, depending where you are. But yeah, there's a couple of states where it's like they call it 4 seasons in one. There's one state called Melbourne. They call it 4 seasons one, meaning it'll like rain. It'll be very hot and sunny. Then it'll kind of be like, super like windy. And then there'll be like the like a snap. It'll go from hot to cold again very quickly. So in hindsight, don't visit Melbourne, is what I'm saying. If you go to Australia, Sydney's much more, it's much more predictable.
So what do you do, Mr. James? What do you do? You're an actor?
So at the moment, I've got a couple of projects in the works at the moment. So as an actor, I've just finished a feature film called On Halloween, which is at AMF next month. But it's got some more. It's already got it's got some. We had a cast and crew screening at Fox, which I was kind of I was surprised because I hadn't seen the film as we were shooting it. And I play one of the leads, an LA detective who's trying to solve this on Halloween murder case. And I was really, I was like, this is a cool film. It's kind of classed as like a thriller horror with a nice tone. Like it's not completely a horror film, but it's got that audience that would find it interesting too. But it's got a nice storyline as well.
Oh, and it takes place on. Is it going to be released this year or next year?
So I think because it's at AFM, I think it'll be next year. But that's that's kind of a little bit out of my hands. But I mean, so far so good. There's been some really good reviews with the people that have seen it. So that's just like an actor. So that's kind of a lead, and then I'm gearing up to shoot a passion project actually of mine. It's a feature film called Malibu Crush. That is an American film that it's a buddy comedy, road trip comedy. Throwback to more the comedy of a little bit of the late '80s. Chevy Chase, National Lampoons.
Oh yeah.
It's got a nice underplaying set of characters. And you kind of root for the underdog. So we started shooting that in December. And then in the film space, I'm involved in a brand new film startup company that's launching at Sundance. And then I also have a podcast that's called Conversation Hollywood. So when you were talking about recording guests, I feel for you because I know the experience when you're in the groove and you're loving it, and then you realize that for whatever reason it hasn't recorded.
Yeah.
Unlike your case, I've had to have that awkward conversation with the guests where I've been like, we didn't get it. And we're kind of like, well, that was your chance to get it.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back. So
that's kind of what happened with us with who was I say? I already forgot his name again. Jason Ellis. That's what happened with Jason Ellis. Hey man, I know that we kind of it was more of a we had a guest on, and he was kind of a bludgeoning idiot, and that's kind of one of the other things why we don't drink anymore with guests. But
alcohol does make things different. I understand. Like you're saying with that.
And so we didn't know how to fix the situation. Like, hey man, like he won't be back. Just if we can get you, maybe you can come back on another day. He's like, and they're like, well, I'll ask my radio show, and they talk openly on the radio show about it, which is kind of cool because we got a plug, but it was also kind of bad because they just kind of, nope, they blew their chance. They fucked up. It's like, oh no.
So you're going with the any publicity is good publicity
yes.
angle. Yeah.
Yes.
Like we made it on the radio, but the angle was perhaps a little bit slanted, but we made it. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I like it.
Oh my god. But yeah, so you say Malibu Crush is your passion project. Are you you're directing this? Are you just acting?
So the reason why it's a passion project is because I wrote it. I wrote it about 4.5 years ago, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a writer. Like I've got enough to do the 90 it's 92 pages, but I've taken classes and I've done some USC stuff, but as far as getting this down, I've had to kind of, once I've finished writing it, take the valuable opinion of a few good writers just to kind of flush it out a bit more and tighten it up with the, first, second, third act and the stakes. And, but basically the reason why it's a passion project is I wrote it myself, and then I had some really good feedback, about 4.5 years ago from CAA, a talent agent, lit agent, and they really liked it. And then it kind of just fell by the wayside as life gets in the way. And then I've done nothing with it. And this is the year where I, just very much in that mindset of like a business mindset, which is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And for me, it's about just making it with a pretty indie budget, just for the sake of making it, rather than kind of just thinking, well, it's one of those things where if I don't really take the bull by the horns and just make it, it's probably going to fall by the wayside again for another 4 years, and life gets in the way and you forget about it. And yeah. So that's what's taken up the time at the moment. Is just getting this all in pre-production.
Yeah, do you have a particular scene in mind that that you can't wait to film? Like a particular, like, what's your favorite?
There's a well, I can give you a little bit of the premise so it makes a bit of sense, the scene. But so basically what it is, it's these two guys that have done absolutely nothing with their lives since high school, and they kind of have this crush. One of them has this crush since high school. He remembers it one way. It's revealed later in the film that she remembers it completely different. But so passionate about is this guy that he tracks her down and finds that she's in Sydney, Australia now. So he goes from Pasadena with his buddy. Remember, they haven't done anything with their lives, so they're not going there with many, they're not going there with like I'm a doctor or I'm a successful musician. They're just taking themselves there. But one of the ways in which they do that is they con them, like with a student exchange program. So they basically pretend they're highly acclaimed film school students. And the exchange is because they're getting these great film school students. So think, USC graduating students. They've actually got to shoot a commercial for someone in Sydney, Australia. So the comedy is very much layered in. They've got to keep up the rows long enough till they track this girl down. And the stakes are growing more and more when they can't find her. But at the same time, they're also, people are really catching on that they're not who they say they are. So probably when you're talking about one of my favorite scenes, there's a scene where they get an Australian actor. Like, again, they've got to direct it. So it's all kind of being given to them when they arrive. So it's not like they've got to start from scratch with this, high-end TVC, but they've been given this Australian actor to work with, and we're casting like a real, kind of like a Chris Hemsworth in 20 years time. Chris Hemsworth, 40-year-old. There's a couple of Australian actors there who's actually going to play themselves, but basically, they're really worried about getting found out. So, and this Australian actor is just really acting like, a diva on set. So what they do is they actually cut his brakes in one of the scenes on his bike, because they're worried that if the scene doesn't look good enough, people are going to think they're fake. So they're like, this will add special effects. So the scene is where the actor's got to ride down this very steep hill. And in the script, he just pulls up, presses the brakes and pulls it up and, says to camera, this is the next restaurant chain you got to visit. But instead, this Australian actor just flies down the hill and plows straight into the back of a car. And they're really proud of themselves because they're like, that looks much better. And obviously, like, there's repercussions. But that's the sense of their intelligence, and a little bit to do with, obviously their motivation is to just not be found out so they can find this girl. But their ways of doing that is quite, it's very Chevy Chase meets.
Yeah, I can definitely tell by
yeah,
how you're describing it. I can definitely see the Chevy Chase aspects, and sounds fun, dude. It sounds fun.
It's well, I was going to say it's been good so far, and really looking forward. So shooting in Los Angeles and also in Sydney, Australia over summer. So if all goes to plan, it'll be mid next year out of post production, and hopefully making. Look, if one person likes it, then it's a huge success. So
exactly.
Here's hoping.
What got you started in all this? What drew you to the entertainment industry, and how long have you been doing it?
So I straight out of high school, I went to this school in Australia called NIDA, and it's got like a really good reputation because it's actually a school that Mel Gibson went to. Pretty much all the big Australian actors went there. Kate Blanchett went there. Who else has gone there? I've just shot myself in the foot. I've just said all the big Australian actors. Sam Worthington went there. pretty much, yeah. I mean, I could list more than just those three, but it's got a huge alumni. So I went to an acting school there, and yeah, just sort of learned the craft, and then really enjoyed that, and did some TV and film work, and then sort of got really motivated in behind the scenes work as well. So I'm very passionate about the industry behind the scenes as well, and how that's changing very much at the moment. And just, yeah, I mean, being probably like an actor in 2020, I think is a little bit more than just waiting for the phone to ring and waiting for your agent. I think it's more now realizing that you have a lot more control when you're a producer, and you can see right now that TV is really powerful if you can take it, if you've got a product that you can, shop around to Netflix or Stan or all these new streaming services that are launching.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are, and I'm a big proponent of it too, of self-distributing through like Amazon, getting it through Amazon Prime and whatnot.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, it's just really interesting. Like you bring up a really good point is, I mean, you look at the success that a lot of people have, Jennifer Aniston and Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and even, Kevin Costner's got a really good story as well, but it's, they've always got like a producing partner on their films.
Yeah.
Which allows their career to really, expand and take off, because you've got so much control then of how your character is going to be portrayed in the film, which is just a really, really smart way to be looking at, to be operating in Hollywood. Like if you can see the power of being a producer, it gives you so much more to really not just have the role, but also to kind of like make sure your role stands out and you get another really good opportunity. So.
I've always I always like to ask about your support, because I talked to a lot of talked to a few directors and actors and independent filmmakers about their support compared to someone that might not be doing as well. And I really feel like the biggest thing that I found was that successful people have a really good support system. Have you do you have a good support system, or did everyone want you to like wrangle kangaroos?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in hindsight, I mean, I'm sure there probably was one person that wanted me to wrangle kangaroos. But you know what? You make a really good point. You have a really good point, because I think that's something that you kind of have to find organically, like a good support network. I probably, I think probably right now is I've got a better support network, because you're a little bit older and you realize what you should be looking for. But yeah, I mean, I think the good thing about Australia and the film industry for the US is that a lot of US shows get shown in Australia. So as someone growing up, in Australia, you're very westernized in, like obviously Netflix and Warner Brothers Productions, and it's not such a huge leap then when you go over to the States. It's not like coming from a country, like in Asia, where it's like a whole language barrier, and what's this, films are shot differently, and this genre is much more important than this one. It's a really easy segue. So when you're kind of going back to your question about the support network, that's kind of an easier thing to find, because you have a lot of things in common. Like an Australian coming over to the States, you have a lot of things in common where you can sort of, you can connect with people easier and find your sort of network a little bit easier. But you still got to play the game in Hollywood. I mean, as you know, it's everybody wants something there at any age.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So I got a random phone call in the middle of that, and I was like trying to mess with that. My man.
Yeah, probably kangaroo wrangler. Someone calling up. Yeah. Looking for a kangaroo wrangler.
He's a damn kangaroo wrangler.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy that I've got more stuff I do want to say, though. I'm happy that you're on the show, and how did you meet up with Jessica Ross?
So I actually, this is a funny story actually, because I was this is going a long time ago. This is right when LinkedIn came out, like the very first time LinkedIn. And I was in Australia, and I was going over to the States, and with like a business thing I was working on, I messaged a bunch of people, and Jessica had this like very, immaculate headshot and this, totally ballin' resume. And I messaged all these people, and I was super snobby, and none of them got back to me. And the one person that got back to me, I was like, and again, Jessica, she had this, impeccable headshot and amazing resume. She gets back to me and she's like, "Oh, hey, James. Yeah, sure. Like, I'd love to, connect and talk about, common networks." And I was kind of like, okay, that figures, like all the people that I thought would, less qualified or less impressive would be the ones to get back to me. And then, and then I sort of connected with Jess when I went over, because I spent a lot of time in LA at that point as well. And yeah, just, we, became really good friends pretty much straight away, just similar interests. And like you said, good support network.
She's been real cool. She's been real cool. You're our second person that she's helped us get on the show and stuff. The last person was London Sea Breeze. And it was kind of crazy, because we received like a couple of, I think it was like submissions, because we put out like an ad thing for like people that wanted to be on the show, and she was one of the people that's submitted, and we emailed her, and I didn't think nothing. I was just trying to email all these people, and she was the first person to get back to me, and so we did the interview with her, and shortly after, she sent me some contact info of someone else, and she's really cool. She's really cool at networking.
Yeah, she's and she's got a really like a talented actress, but I mean, she's got a really cool story in her life, meaning like she was season 1 of Fashion Dolls, the reality show, really big PR queen in Hollywood. She knows what she's doing with publicity, and then she's got, all these other little projects she's working, and she's actually in Malibu Crush as well, which is really cool, because she's, like I said, she's a great actress, and she kind of represents, like she's a great person and very talented. And that's when you're talking about that sphere of influence or that support network. It's great to have people like that.
Heck yeah. So I want to dive into a little bit of your past here. What is this auctioneering stuff you do? You still do that?
Right. So I'm actually the Australian Auctioneer of the Year.
Of the year as well. Of this year?
Yeah. This year, 2019, yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that's real estate auctions, and
how does one win that?
I'd like to say there's some talent involved there. I mean, it's like another one of my passions that I've got, which is I have a company outside of the acting and the entertainment stuff, which is we sell mainly celebrity and luxury houses around the world, and sell them by auction. So in America, auctions are not so common unless it's a bankruptcy or foreclosure. But countries like New Zealand and Australia and the UK and in Europe, auctions actually a really good way to sell your house. You get, like an example, I had an auction with the number one Sotheby's agent in Australia earlier this year, and sold a $6 million house for $8 million just because
nice.
10 people are wanting. Yeah, like just because 10 people wanted it, and they're all in the same room together or on the phone, that they just get caught up in the bidding. And again, it's also when you get into that kind of like price point, a lot of people sometimes just bid out of a little bit of ego, like I want to be the person that, has the most money in the room. So I've worked really hard at that and sort of specialize in luxury houses. And I actually had a TV show deal a couple of years ago in Hollywood to do an auction show that kind of, a few things outside of the actual show with the production company came up. But there's been some good times there. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you're like sitting there talking real fast and tricking people to buy houses?
No, that's like your cattle auctioneer. It's a little bit, but I like where you're going, because that's very Texas too. You know, cowboy hat and
Yeah.
That's what we're used to.
yeah. That actually sounds cooler than what I do, to be honest with you. Especially being able to wear the hat and kind of just really go for it. Probably a little bit more polished and a little bit more like an art auction, because it's a one big ticket. So it's often, I think, with the cattle auctioneering, that's very much like you've got like 2,000 lots to do per one day. Whereas with a house, you're just selling the house. It's more about, talking about the 9 bedrooms and 11 bathrooms, and the pool has had this and this and this put in. So it's a little bit slower, a little bit more, but the same thing, first, second, third call, really put the pressure on. Yeah.
Yes, this room has a golden bidet. Would you like 5 million?
I got to be honest. I've sold some incredible houses around the world, but you kind of get the nice thing is that because it's the luxury end, you kind of get to see just how ridiculous the excessive gets to. Meaning, I made the point where sometimes the person that buys the house is not. It's more just because they want to be it's out of ego, like they want to win the house. But houses that have got like bowling alleys and indoor pools that have an elevator to get to, and there was one that I sold and had 2 cinemas in it, because the parents didn't want to share with the kids. Like cinemas, we're talking like 100+ seating in the cinemas, because the parents didn't want to share with the kids in case they couldn't decide what to watch. Forget about like a flat screen plasma. This is a decked out cinema. So you got 2 cinemas, which again, I don't know why you need 120 seats if it's just 2 of you. And then the crazy thing is, the more the lifestyle, obviously the more it costs just to live there per year. So you got to think like a 40,000 square foot home with insurance, and what happens, when you need to change a light bulb. It's not just that light's connected to that. It's, it comes with, it's crazy to think sometimes, on top of land tax in Los Angeles, for example, you might buy the house for this price, but it's going to set you back this much each year just to live there.
Well, look, man, if you want to do like a private auction and sell it to me for like $5, I mean, I'm cool with that too.
No, look, we never had this conversation, and congratulations on your new $50,000 square foot home.
We'll just start the bidding at $550 for this.
501.
Yeah, 501.
501. First, second, third call sold.
Sold.
Gentlemen I've never seen before.
The 20 bedroom house.
No, I've been really lucky, like I said, to kind of that was one of the reasons why this film script kind of fell by the wayside a bit, because I was really going in, and I've done a few auctioneer TV shows which have been really made up, like reality TV shows with auctioning are all scripted. But at the same time, it's been such a amazing experience to go in and see how people live, and just, it's unbelievable. There's actually a house in Los Angeles at the moment. It's coming on the market in a couple of months. It's $500 million in Bel Air. Just for one house. It's not like a complex and it's amazing. We're talking four pools, indoor Olympic-sized swimming pool, plus indoor Olympic pool, nightclub, casino, unbelievable house. And $500 million Bel Air. And it's funny because if you look at the aerial shot of the house, it's called The One. Jennifer Aniston actually lives next door.
Huh.
Jennifer Aniston's got like a really nice house, and it's big. Jennifer Aniston's got a very big house. It took her years to build. But when you look at the Jennifer Aniston's house next to this $500 million house, her house doesn't even look like the pool house. It's a little dot, because this house is 100,000 square feet. So it's like, it's sort of, you're going next level. If you buy this house, everybody's going to want to come over. Everyone's going to know about it, basically.
Yeah, I'm in a trailer with no walls right now.
The thing is there. I'm sure your upkeep is much more manageable. Your costs than kind of like 100,000 square foot home.
Yeah.
I think you'll be able to afford more beer kind of per house. That's the benefit there. Yeah.
But real talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, we keep getting hit by random tropical storms down here, so it's always constant updates having to be made in these houses around us because they keep getting flooded.
No. Well, Well, I was going to say that there is the benefits of not having large houses and that kind of lifestyle as well. There is the benefits. So.
Yeah. So you're saying you wouldn't move in that house because you wanted the $800 million house, right?
Well, hold on here. I would be more than happy to live in the one in Bel Air. More than happy. Yeah. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it if I have to.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston isn't famous enough. Where's the Michael Jackson house? I wonder if he still has giraffes running around.
It's first world problems. I think when you get into that level, and you're buying $500 million houses, the littlest, what is a big problem for other people is just not on the radar for others. But yeah, it's a really, really nice house, and definitely worth checking out, even if you're not going to buy it. Have a look at it online, but that's the other world that I kind of work in when I'm not doing the film. So
what was what's your best memory of filming on Halloween?
My best memory filming that, I think I'm trying to say something where I'm not going to give too much away, but I'm trying to think. My best memory. So there's a. I'm just. That's a very good question because I'm just being careful how I talk here, so I'm not mentioning any characters or anything. My best memory, perhaps. Look, to be really honest with you, my best memory is we were shooting early in the morning. A lot of the time, and we ended up at one of the producers' houses for this scene at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And this producer had like a really nice house, a little bit outside the city. And I know this is going to sound really, probably not what you're wanting me to say, but it was a nice memory. We went to his house, and he's got 3 dogs, and he had 2 border collie dogs and a Jack Russell. And I grew up with border collies, and it was just really nice because we were sort of chilling at this nice house that had a pool, and the lights are all on late at night. And then we were kind of ferried to location when we're shooting. But yeah, it was just nice, chilling out of the city, these really cool dogs that were just so friendly. And of course they were loving it because they had this, it was exciting. I could tell that the dogs were loving it. It's exciting, where all these people coming and giving them attention, at 2 in the morning and giving them food and just hanging out. That was really cool. And then the other thing, which was a fun memory, is there was a guy that was actually in the film, and he thought we were wrapped. So he shaved his head, and then the director's like, "Oh no, like we need you for reshoots as well as new scenes."
God!
So
he shaved his head.
And he had like Ashton Kutcher type hair, meaning, Ashton Kutcher, that 70s show type hair in most of the scenes. So it wasn't like, you could just get away with. It was very distinct. Anyway, one of the days showed up on set, and they gave him this really horrible wig.
Oh God.
Like, I got to be honest with you, it looked nothing like his original hair. I think people were just like people were just hoping for the best on that day. It looked nothing like him. And I think even the director was kind of like, you know what? I think we're just going to have to go for real extreme close-ups or whatever for his reactions. We don't see his hair.
God.
But we went. I want to paint the picture. It looked like somebody had a mop and they dyed the mop instead of even like trying to make it look like hair. They just dyed it to make it look like black hair, and then they just kind of like stuck it on someone's head.
Jeez.
Anyway, we went out to this location, and there was like like we were shooting, and these extras, these people walked by, these bystanders, and this old man walked past, and he's like one of those like older guys that kind of knows everything that goes on in the area, kind of like, oh, what are you shooting out here today? And well, I was shooting a movie, and then he kind of really got fascinated with this actor's hair. He's like, how long did it take you to grow? He's like, how long did it take you to grow that hair?
Oh God.
The actor here. Well, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to. Because the final cut, it gets around all this really well. But the actor's like, no man, it's actually like my wardrobe. And the guy's like, no, it's really cool. I mean, was it maybe 1 or 2 years it took you to grow that? Because I haven't seen hair like that. And the actor's having this like, having to politely kind of explain to him that it's a wig without taking it off. And the guy was not convinced it was a wig. He thought he had this, as he put it, really extreme hairstyle. So there was both sides of it. There was some fun times and interesting times on set.
Damn crocodile hunters! Y'all can't find a decent wig shop. No decent wig shop at all.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good Australian accent. Yeah.
Let's see.
I have this. I mean, this will be the last time I'll bring this up, but I think you'll find this really hilarious. With the Australian side of things, I have this buddy of mine I went to high school with, and our end of high school sort of scores weren't good enough to get him to go into college to be a doctor in Australia when he graduated. So his parents were like, you got to be a doctor. So he kind of did whatever the overseas thing was, and he got into Chico College in California. And he went over, and again, thick Australian accent. He went over there, and like immediately, like the girls just loved him. They're like, "Oh my gosh, there's an Aussie guy on campus!" No way. So he was really enjoying that. He was kind of like a rare species at Chico College. So a couple of years went by, and he was starting to really chip into being a doctor, and he didn't want to leave. So he deferred to be a dentist for another couple of years. At this point, his parents back in Australia were like, well, he has to graduate before he comes home. We've invested too much time and money, paying for this education. And second of all, his little brother had just graduated from college in Australia. So it's like, it was kind of like he has to come back. We've invested this much. My buddy, he did not want to come home. So keep in mind, there's a movie called Van Wilder where the guy lives on campus, for a good 10 years. This was almost exactly the same, except it was an Australian guy. And I know firsthand because going and visiting him, it's like everybody knew him first name, and everybody was kind of like there to study, and he was just there to have fun. Anyway, as I went there just after 17, graduated at 29. So he was there for over 10 years. And again, he went there to be a doctor, and he graduated in construction management. So he basically had that Australian experience that you could only dream of. You're a rare species in a college town, in a fun college, just living on campus for over 10 years. And he didn't want to leave. So So,
Oh my
yeah,
God. That's pretty funny.
that's
Oh,
a TV show there right for it.
So I'm reading here that that you're often compared to Owen Wilson and Edward Norton. Did you say this?
You know, I a couple of girls that I've dated seem to think that that's who I look like. Personally, I don't know either way, but
Well, who do you prefer? Who would you prefer to be compared to of the two?
You know, I feel like Owen Wilson's had he seems to be pretty. He doesn't seem to have a lot of enemies. You know, people just seem to take him as he is. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Edward Norton seems very very talented, but I think like Owen Wilson seems like that kind of, you know, he can just come and go and, you know, do his own thing, and, you know, he's got his own thing going on.
Yes, and so you feel like you have your own you're more of an own thing going on. You're not like this method actor. You're not going to be an angry method. Wait, is Edward Norton a method actor? Doesn't he freak out?
I think he's a good actor. I mean, I'd say he's got some. I'm not sure. I think maybe he's acting. Don't quote me. But I read somewhere. I think he does a bit of like Suzuki and a bit of Lee Strasberg technique, which goes into some. But I mean, that could just be an article. But yeah, he's a really incredible actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty good, except he doesn't want to be the Hulk, or he wanted too much money to be the Hulk. It's like, what a jerk. What a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's so Hollywood, isn't it, though? Like, you read, like, how much some of these guys are paid, and you kind of think, like, you know, really? Like, you're going to knock back this opportunity over that much money as well? But, you never, yeah.
Yeah, Owen Wilson would have done it.
I would go and I would pay money to see Owen Wilson as the Hulk. Don't know whether it'd be the same movie.
I'm getting really angry. Wow, guys.
Because, yeah, instead of growling, he goes, wow, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he does that. You know, he's like, wow.
Yeah.
There's a great. I think you guys would really like it. There's a great Owen Wilson impersonation on Funny or Die. It's you know the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
So there's Drive with Owen Wilson, and you got to watch it. Like, they really, like, when you watch it, you kind of see that they like accentuate his chin and his nose like 5 times bigger than what it is. But yeah, but basically, you know, Ryan Gosling's very quiet. In this version of Drive, it's like Owen Wilson just won't stop talking.
Oh my God.
So it's worth looking. Yeah, Owen Wilson in Drive. It's definitely worth it.
Oh, okay, man. I think we're coming to a close here soon. What is it that you would like to get out of acting in the entertainment industry? What's the peak? What's the end game for you?
You know, I think the end game would be to have my own studio, meaning studio doesn't have to be, you know, like 150 employees and 150 films, but to have a profile where you can get your films greenlit and to be doing films that you want to see out there. So it's almost like you're at a position where you know, you have a bit more control over the art rather than just, you know, trying to either do a film to get to the next stage or do a film for the paycheck.
Yeah, then that's notable. That's notable.
And the money's good too.
And the money's good too.
Yeah. The money's always good, it seems. So.
But yeah, we were talking to actor James Pratt. Be sure to be on the lookout for his upcoming film on Halloween, as well as future film Malibu Crush that's currently in pre-production. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
How do you guys feel if I just mention my podcast quickly?
Yeah, that's cool.
No, it's you know, and maybe you guys can think about coming on. It's just called Conversation Hollywood. iTunes, and no beer. No beer. There's no beer.
No beer. Keep those kangaroos in check and quit licking the frogs, and we'll be good.
All right. Hey,
all right,
good
man.
luck with
Talk
the
to you
beer.
later.
Great talking to you. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.